When I was 19, I had a sport accident that resulted in a back injury. I was on the ski slopes of France and had a jump too fast on my snowboard and overshot the landing. I hit the ground with an echoing crash. My body crumpled underneath me. Surrounded by cold, compacted snow, I lay there. Not sure what to do next. Friends rushed over to check on me with a panic in their face. I was taken up the mountain, carried by my friends, and spent the last day in France in pain in bed. Luckily, there was no serious signs of injury. No broken bones, no concussions, no wounds, just aches and pains, and everything hurt. On returning to the UK, I continued to live with pain daily, even after various drugs, pain medication, numerous doctors and physio appointments, x-rays, MRI scans. There was no serious pathology or injury that could be found to explain the pain. Nonetheless, I'd fallen into the chronic pain category, meaning the experience of persistent pain for 3 months or more. It affected everything. I couldn't stand or walk for a few minutes without pain. I couldn't do any of the activities I used to take for granted. Mountain biking, rock climbing, trail running, or even cooking, going to the shops, going out to see friends. My back pain lasted at a severe and limited level for 9 months, and I continued to have problems for almost 2 years after the accident. Over that time, my condition became my identity. It was the thing I would always talk about because it was so central to every day and every moment. But after a while, friends and family members' compassion for what I was going through turned into apathy, which turned into resentment because it was all I was talking about. Compassion fatigue is a real thing. So I stopped talking. I couldn't express how I felt, what I was going through. I didn't have the emotional support network I needed from the people who just got it. That was my experience of pain, and realizing that one of the things I needed most was connection and emotional support, not just medications and treatments to recover. And I'm not alone in this. So my previous work and research has been around peer-led support and peer-led communities. Peer support is when services and care is provided by people living with a health condition to support others living with that health condition. It works because it's full of shared experience, empathy and understanding that can only exist with people who have lived through similar things. Emotional support is the deep stuff. It's the not feeling alone. It's the not feeling that there's no one to talk to that won't understand. Because for people living with musculoskeletal conditions like arthritis and other joint conditions that cause pain, discomfort, and disability daily, telling a friend, partner, or work colleague every day who hasn't experienced it and doesn't understand it, and that is not just a niggle in your knee, is not just a twinge in your back, it's something that affects every minute of every day. Telling loved ones daily, weekly, monthly can feel like you're a broken record. So you stop telling them because they stop engaging. This is where even our family, friends, and colleagues are not able to provide the emotional support we need. I'm Ben Wilkins. I'm a registered osteopath, and my background is in musculoskeletal research and community health. My fellowship is researching the role of gamification to motivate older adults to engage in community exercise for MSK conditions like arthritis. I'm also an MSK clinical champion, and my day job is CEO of Good Boost, where we're working to develop technology to create personalized rehabilitation. And we're working to create what is that digital emotional support and digital peer communities that people are really seeking. Now, musculoskeletal conditions is an umbrella term for disorders like arthritis, back pain, inflammatory joint conditions, neurological disorders, and many more. It affects around 18 million people in the UK and about 1.2 billion globally. It's the primary cause of disability on the planet, and around a third of the population live with chronic pain. 30% of GP appointments in the UK are related to an MSK or pain condition, and it costs the NHS around £5 billion every year. Numbers are continuing to go up due to lifestyle factors and an aging population. Now, we know exercise works. It's one of the most clinically and cost-effective interventions for MSK conditions. The challenge is that people with musculoskeletal conditions are some of the most inactive people on the planet because of the most reported symptom with any MSK condition, pain. And pain is the primary barrier for people to be active, but there are many others too. Other long-term health conditions, fear of injury, limited function, and as people get older, they become less active, and MSK conditions become more prevalent. There's often poor adherence, and there's limited long-term behavior change and long-term benefit. And there's a limited number of physios and healthcare professionals, and there are around 500 more needed each year just to keep up with demand. And with Brexit looming in the UK and 13% of physios being international, there's uncertainty in the size and future of the community MSK workforce to create physical activity program. So how are we going to deliver one of the most clinically effective interventions on the planet? Well, this year, Arthritis released their report on physical activity. It included over 800 people with MSK conditions, with the majority being over 55. One of the key findings is that there's an appetite for both practical and emotional support to be active. It also discovered that 71% said they would like to be more active, and 63% said they are confident using the latest tech. Interestingly, 2/3 are looking to be active on their own rather than in a group of people. So the answer is obvious, right? We build an exercise app for people with arthritis. But it's been done. There are plenty out there. And before there were apps, there were exercise programs on health websites telling people that the types of exercise they should do for their joint condition. And before that, there were printed exercise sheets for people to follow at home. Orca is the medical app review agency, and they review the quality of medical apps like arthritis exercise apps. They've indicated there's approximately 325,000 health and well-being apps out there. 325,000. And yet health problems continue to grow. Global health spending is at $8 trillion a year, about 10% of global GDP. And this is a percentage that continues to grow. Health apps have not been the panacea. And the problem with expecting tech to solve all the health problems is there are these key challenges. There's a digital divide, the haves and the have-nots. There are plenty of people in developed nations about smart devices or about the data to take part in these medical apps. And developing nations have many digital barriers too. For many older adults, there's a confidence gap in technology that is inaccessible, unnavigatable to users. And we've got problems with motivation and bias. Quite simply, we don't always do the things that are in our best long-term interest. And I'll touch on this a little bit more later. We live in an age of the attention economy, where social apps generate income by showing us adverts. And that the more time we're on them, the more money they make. Endless funds have been spent to make apps as addictive as crack cocaine. And then we have these health self-management apps, like arthritis exercise apps, trying to compete for our time and attention compared to these highly addictive things in our pocket. You see, here's the problem. I'm about to be good, to do my exercises. I know it's good for me and my body. I've installed a new app, it's reviewed by Orca, and I've heard really good things about it. I pick up my phone, go to unlock it, and then I see this. Wait a minute, that's about half an hour ago. I better drop them a line. I don't want to be rude. And suddenly you're 20 minutes into watching cat videos before you know where the time's gone. And then, well, that time you put aside for exercises was a bit too close to dinner now. And we've all done it. We've all gone to check the time on our phone only to realize we didn't actually see what the time was because we ended up looking at something else. We're addicted. I'm addicted. This isn't a new concept. And particularly in 2020, my phone and my notifications give me the connections I need to the rest of the world. We're humans. We're innately social creatures, and we want to feel we have some sort of connection and shared understanding with others. And this notifications gives us that, along with that little bump of dopamine to make us feel good too. Here's the challenge. If we could design the best, most evidence-based, most effective health app in the world, and if you follow that perfect set of exercises and made the right modifications in your diet, that it would reduce your risk of cancer by 50%, heart disease by 40%, and diabetes by over 40%, and all you had to do was put in 30 minutes of effort, only 5 times a week, meaning you get the weekends off, great. Well, it already exists. Research shows that adapting our diets and exercise creates the health improvement levels to this level. If it was a pill, it would be a wonder drug. So why don't we do it? Well, there's this, but it is deeper than that. There's this. We're already spending hours on our phone. Surely some of that time could go towards being healthy, right? But it's deeper than that. One of the challenges we face is present bias. The outcome in front of us are far more motivating than the even more important outcomes in the future. We're really bad at future forecasting, And that's why an app notification in front of us is the most motivating thing. The heart attack you avoid is 20 years away. But the chocolate cake, the responding to a friend's message, and that Netflix binge session, you get that today, with all the quick access to the dopamine hits you can handle. Hard work pays off in the future, but laziness pays off right now. We know the established facts that it's important and valuable to look after your health for yourself, for your family, for your friends and society. We just don't engage with these established facts in a way to make it easy to elicit the best actions for our future selves. It's not a knowledge deficit, it's a behavior deficit. Our heads look in one way, but our hearts drag us in the opposite direction. Everything we tell people about healthy behaviors is based on the idea that we behave rationally. If we tell someone that smoking and drinking is bad for our health, people wouldn't do it, right? I receive information and facts. I process the information. I change my behavior as a result. It doesn't work like that. It's not that we don't know better, it's that we don't do better. We're irrational beings. Our decisions are based on emotional, social, and environmental context. These guys got the memo about how to build the right strategies for that first. If we're going to win the self-management behavior battle to encourage people to take time out of their lives to create healthy habits, we're competing with these guys. We're all in the disposable time economy space. What most health apps do is focus on creating a relationship between the user and the app. That the app is good, is evidence-based, it's been approved. It tells you what to do, even gives you colorful bars and graphs to tell you how good or bad you're doing. Well, there's a trump card for this. When an app creates relationships to other people through the app, your relationship isn't with the app, it's with the world of connections inside that app. That's what makes social media apps so effective, because it draws on the strings that makes us innately human, that seeking human connection, that shared group understanding, that emotional support. And game apps, they rake in billions and billions of dollars every year because they've created brilliant game mechanics to feed off the quick dopamine hits to keep us coming back for more, plus the social connection, collaboration, and competition in the game. If we're going to compete, we need to think like this. We need to play on the same level. We need to grab the same dopamine hits that Silicon Valley understands so well, so we can grab people's attention for the things where they can get real health points, not just fake video game points. 9 years ago, a retired electrical engineer, Andreas, was invited to model in a stock photo shoot by a professional photographer. The photographer had seen some holiday photos of Andreas online. After he uploaded his holiday pics to a photo sharing website with his family and friends. What Andreas didn't realize is that the snaps of his seaside break would be made public. His name is Andreas Istvan, but he's more commonly known as Hide the Pain Harold. Andreas, without his knowledge, control, or influence, became a meme. And suddenly his face was so recognizable that he was being asked for selfies by strangers. For years, Andreas tried to stop his journey on becoming a member of meme royalty. But no matter his intentions, he couldn't stop the path laid out before him. He's since fully embraced his countercultural status and been flown to all corners of the globe for events and shows. His story's been featured in newspapers and magazines. He's given TED Talks where he's received over 500,000 views in 3 days. Now, what made Andreas a star was a group of people who saw his eyes and thought, he's holding back the pain. He's not really enjoying that coffee. This led to a huge number of memes being created with Andreas or Harold at the center of them. And even though Hide the Pain Harold's popularity in the world of meme peaked a couple of years ago, Andreas still fully embraces and still is recognized for his celebrity status. And you can find Andreas on mugs, on pillows, and even face masks. But more importantly, since his internet fame, Andreas joined a mental health charity in Hungary, his home country, after receiving messages from people around the world that the memes of Andreas, his alter ego, Hide the Pain Harold, gave him the strength and emotional connection to get through some of the toughest periods in their life. And that got me thinking, If a meme can offer emotional, social, and psychological support to overcome the challenges in life, then how deep is their clinical value in supporting patients and people living with long-term health conditions like arthritis? And when I say memes, I mean memes. And we all know Angry Cat, of course. And when I say memes, I mean more memes. And, well, just memes. The correct way to say meme, according to the Oxford English Dictionary, is meme, not meme or meme. The definition is an idea that's presented from one member of a society to another, not in the genes, but often people copying it. It's an image or a video or a piece of text that passes very quickly from one internet user to another, often with slight changes to make it humorous. The word was first coined by Richard Dawkins in his 1976 book, The Selfish Gene. In addition to defining the term, Dawkins also provided a really handy tip on how to say it. It should be pronounced to rhyme with cream. Dawkins defined memes as ideas that spread from one brain to another, a unit of cultural information spread by imitation. Dawkins now refuses to use the term in his internet sense. Memes serve many purposes and functions, but at a fundamental level, they serve as an expression of people's emotions and opinions. Memes can be formed by appropriating scenes from a TV show or movie, where they are taken out of context, remixed with other content, and have new meanings attributed to them. It's like an inside joke that everyone can share, and it's something that communicates a funny part of life that we can all relate to. It's the same reason stand-up comedy works. The laughter happened because someone else is in the room, and you want to show a shared understanding for the joke, so you laugh. Even if you wouldn't have laughed at that joke if it was printed in a piece of paper. It creates a relatable bond, a shared understanding. Memes often relate to challenges people face surrounding anxiety, procrastination, failing, stress, mental health, geopolitical concern. And memes serve as a medium of communication that can help us to relate to other people through collective experiences and let everyone know that we're all in the same boat and we're all experiencing the same stuff, and that other people are thinking in the same way you think, that they offer social, group understanding and emotional support. So let's recap. Emotional support is good, but it can be difficult to find. Arthritis and joint conditions hurt, and there's lots of them. Exercise work, and it's really effective, but people aren't doing it. Research shows that exercise solutions need to offer both practical and emotional support. There are loads of apps out there, but they're not really making a dent in health yet. We're not great fortune tellers, and that leads us to responding to messages rather than doing squats. Social media created strategies to keep us scrolling, and Hide the Pain Harold gives us emotional support just by being a stock photo with bold text on it to get through life. So what? Well, I'll tell you what. If we're going to overcome the global health challenges in front of us, we've got to stop thinking like medical professionals and clinicians. We've got to stop thinking that only if patients would take care of themselves because they knew what's good and bad for their health. It's not that people don't want to be healthy. It's that we have limited attention available in every day, and there are so many demands on our attention. And healthy things are not great at grabbing our attention. So we need to think differently. We need to think WWZD. What would Zuckerberg do? People with arthritis don't care about the perfect exercise program. They don't care if it's 99.999% most effective as a collection of exercises to reduce pain. What they want are memes and giggles. If Mark Zuckerberg was to design an arthritis exercise management app, what would he do? He'd probably go and create a clickbait article with a personality test quiz of what character from the 1980s TV show your particular demographic really enjoyed. And you'd find out that your personality is actually a bit like Mr. T from the A-Team, and you win a prize, access to an exclusive game to see how well you can move like Mr. T. But this game involves you squatting, lunging over the next 5 minutes, but it's got something unique, a feedback loop using augmented reality or accelerometers in the phone to track your movements to let you know if you're working hard enough to give you that Mr. T exercise score at the end. You get a high result, you get a high score, results. And you get points, and those points are options to be shared on Facebook with friends. Out of nowhere, because you shared it, you receive an exclusive meme just for you. And it's the perfect meme because it speaks directly to you and your humour. Because we know what you like, because you took the personality quiz, because you clicked the bait. Shh. So to you, the exercise game really understands you and the type of person you are. So you share it with friends who also clickbait, take the same quiz, discover they've got a personality more like Mrs. Crabapple from The Simpsons, and that they're about to receive a game to see if they could beat Mrs. Crabapple in a squats contest. It's not just one friend, it's 6 friends you share this with. And suddenly they all get a score. Some low, some medium, some high. People share this back to you when they share it with other friends too. Many of them may have knee aches, backaches, but it's not about the aches. It's about the exclusive memes you're after. So they do the same exercises to get the points, receive their personalized, exclusive, shiny meme, and the cycle continue. More memes, more quizzes, more people exercising, more clickbait. Not because people want to exercise, but because there was a clickbait 20 minutes ago. Activity, reward, activity, reward, activity. Suddenly we've got the whole world running marathons and completing triathlons. Not quite yet. But if companies, universities, and research institutions spent decades rather than completing randomized controlled trials, developing deep tech and AI to work out what the perfect set of exercises were for the perfect intensity to get the best outcome in knee arthritis, well, they were wrong. What they should have been focusing their time is that patients don't care if something is a certain percentage more effective than something else, that a certain set of lunges or squats is more effective in a certain percentage than the walk or taking the stairs. We've focused on the wrong thing. It's not the intervention, it's the memes. We should have taken all that time and effort to look at what the right emotional connection and trigger was for each person to get them to open the app in the first place, creating a level of emotional and social motivation to their first step to get people taking their first lunge. This is where gamification, memes, creating triggers for people to be active, to eat healthier, can work. It's not about the healthy activity, it's about creating the emotional connection to repeat the activity. And importantly, creating those group connections, that shared understanding that reinforces the activity and the reason why memes have become so popular. Social media game apps have figured this out, resulting in billions and billions of hours spent every day on their platform. If we can harness these principles, then maybe we can divert those billions and billions of hours towards health self-management instead. We need to create humor and emotion, whether that's face-to-face or virtual, because doing so, we create a starting point for shared understanding and a medium that's relatable, and one that can open up the ability for people to feel comfortable, to have those important conversations, because we have those group bonds. We need to create solutions that focus on short-term benefit that result in quick dopamine hits, not just trying to entice people to take care of themselves because the benefit's 5 years from now. And we need to create peer support and collective accountability. Rather than goals that focus on the users, have goals that focus on the group. There's a different psychology we're plugging into by doing this. People let themselves down in their health actions every day of the week. But when we're accountable to a group, we're less likely to miss that exercise sessions because it contributes to the group goal. Quite simply, we need to design health self-management differently. Health organizations are not competing against other health services. They're competing against Facebook and Netflix. If we're going to see a healthier world around us, it's not going to be because people are trying to be healthy, but because we've mastered how to offer both practical and emotional solutions for self-management. Self-management and healthy behaviors, not because a doctor tells us what to do, but because they're things that we want to do. And until then, there's always time for another little meme. Thank you very much.
Ben, I needed to hear a talk that puts exercise and memes together. Thank you so much for that. That was great, because I do love memes. I share them on a daily basis through Instagram with friends, but exercise is a thing I don't want to do. So thank you for finding a way to connect those worlds together. We do have some questions. I've got one to kick off. So obviously this thinking, Ben, this research that you've done, has it manifested in, and where can people find that product?
We're still working on it. The reality is we're still running focus groups. We're still engaging with people living with arthritis to really understand what is the right meme. Should it just be a fluffy animal GIF? Should there be a meme? What if it's the wrong meme? Will that make people disengage? It actually gets really complicated. Meme theory is much more challenging to understand than emoji theory, I'd say.
Yeah, because when you were talking about engaging older audiences with memes, a meme came to mind, and you've probably seen it with your research, the one of Winnie the Pooh holding glasses. And it's like, when you show an older person a meme and it's like, did you make this? Who did this? Who is this? Do we know this person? So Ben, thank you for that. So your research is ongoing at the moment, which is great, and better success with that. We have a question here, and the question is from Jess B. Which are the most kind of addictive exercise or health apps, would you say? Actually, I'm combining two questions here from somebody called JW as well, because there are 300,000 plus, out there. So from your research, presumably looking at competitors and so on, do you think that stands out as the most addictive, the one that people use the most?
Yeah, there are some great exercise apps out there, and the ones that do a brilliant job are the ones where you're part of a group taking part in something. Some of the biggest ones are ones like Peloton, where you're part of a cycling team. You're in a cycling studio, but it's done virtually at home. It's not you cycling; it's you cycling with other people. The real world equivalent of that is one called Strava, and with Strava you can do running, cycling, but you do it to compete against other people you may not even know. And the reason you go out and exercise is because you want to beat the person who lives in your area, who does the same route as you, and you want to beat their time. That's what it taps into. It doesn't tell you what exercises to do. It taps into that part of psychology that motivates us, whether that's to be collaborative or competitive. Now, they've done that brilliantly for people under 40 who are fit, healthy individuals. If we can take those same learnings and apply them to rehab apps, cardiopulmonary rehabilitation, that's where we see something really interesting there.
Ben, thank you very much. So Strava and Peloton. And of course, we did at the Gamification Europe conference last year have a speaker who was part of the design team and indeed the founder for the Run Zombies Run app, which of course takes the narrative of, a person being chased and you've got to run away from them. So we've got another question here. Do you feel that the psychological learning stages from unconscious to conscious and competent helps move users from knowing to doing things in a more healthy way?
Yes, without a doubt. Applies to anything and any health behavior. But I guess it's that first trigger that we consciously want to do it in the first place. If we can find that motivation, that means we consciously want to take part in it, so we get to that unconscious stage of being able to repeat a behavior or an action or an exercise. That's what we need. That's what we need to do. And I think what you just mentioned with Zombies Run is a great example. What they do so effectively is create a narrative. Your next run unlocks the next part of the story. In the same way, what if we had exercises that if you achieve certain goals, you unlock that special meme? That's what it really digs into. It's about what you're getting at the end of your next exercise session. Because for a lot of people, just getting sweaty and feeling out of breath, for some people, that is the real motivation. People love the kind of strain and pain they feel when they're exercises. For the majority of people, it's a huge turnoff. So how do we give them something that they want to do, that first conscious engagement activity, that they create that unconscious repeatable behavior?
Yeah, and I love how your thinking on this almost comes back to that raw anecdotal saying of laughter is the best medicine, but in this case, humour and laughter is the reward. So we've got time for just one more a quick question, and that is again from JW, who says, isn't arthritis generally experienced by older demographics who may not connect with memes necessarily? And Ben, I suppose this is why you are doing the focus groups you're doing. But he or she adds on, how important is interests of the target demographic?
And this is where I think what I was trying to allude to in my final slides. If we spent all those decades of research, rather than looking at what was the right combination of squats, but looking at what was the right emotional or social trigger for people to engage in the first place, we need to create deep tech and deep learning for what is the perfect meme for people. I'm sure Facebook are doing it somewhere, because the better the meme that that shows up, the more the more likely we are to keep scrolling. And for older adults, it may not be memes. It may not be that. It's more like cat videos. Kind of programs such as, if you have in the UK, one called You Being Framed, which is essentially just people on video cameras just doing silly things, hugely popular, but people like fails or wins as short clips. What if you could have it was just a dog who was trying to jump over a step to get a treat and finally did it? Not a meme, but something that feels something they can relate to, because it's a physical action, but also a reward at the end because they get the bone. You feel better afterwards. So it may not be memes in the way that we think about them, but just something they can relate to that we can put on their phone or something like that.
Yeah. Well, Ben, thank you very much. And one of my biggest takeaways is not just what would Zuckerberg do, but in this case, what would Ben Wilkins do? So, Ben, thank you very much for your time, and enjoy the rest of the session.